my project, we're going to be making a website together.
Awesome.
If this is gonna wanna work, or we might have to just do it without the text editor. Okay. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to do it without it. So you don't have to have a code editor in order to write code. You can just do it like on any normal desktop, like with just TextPad or whatever your computer comes with. But there are a lot of advantages that come with having a text editor, and you'll see more on that later, probably on the PowerPoint. So we are gonna have to do this though without that. So we'll open it up here. And anytime you start any HTML document, you're going to want to start it with.
No, what is HTML?
HTML is the code that all like websites run on. Pretty much any modern website, any website you can think of nowadays. HTML is the code that structures the site. It's like what puts the elements on the screen. And then there are two other types of things that go into this, which is JavaScript and CSS. CSS is what styles it and designs it, and JavaScript is the more advanced part. It's like what gives the page functionality and allows you to do all kinds of other stuff.
Gotcha.
So any HTML page, you want to start with doc type, HTML. And then end it with that. And any element on an HTML document is always gonna be in between these two things. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do the HTML element, and then inside of the HTML element, we're gonna start with a header element, which you do like that with just head. And then the starting element, you always start with just writing the code for the element in between greater than and less than sign. And then you always end it like this with between, but put a slash before you write it. So that's how you, right here, this is how you start an element, and that's how you end it. You always put the slash there to end it. And then now that we have the header, we can basically write whatever we want in here. So I don't know where that bucket is, but I was gonna have someone like give me an example of something you would want to write for a title website.
Title a website.
Mikey.
Yes.
Lanier's Laboratory.
Mikey.com. Okay.
Mikey.com.
I think we should call it Mikey's Bowtie.com.
Mikey.
I had something else, but it was a little inappropriate.
I'm glad you didn't.
I was worried about that. Okay, and then we could do a, let's see, let's go ahead and do a paragraph element, which for the paragraph element, you're just gonna do P, and that stands for paragraph. And you can, you don't have to do like the space, the enter presses that I do there, but I'm so used to formatting it the way a real web developer would do it that I just like to do that. You literally could just do this right here instead and write it in between, but I like to, this is how web developers format it. They put it, the starting element above the content and the ending element below the content. And so we could go ahead and, does anyone wanna, let's see, give me a sentence to write?
Mikey's bow tie is so black that it reflects the sun.
It absorbs heat.
It warms his face.
Yeah, it's kind of warming here, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, so now we got that. We got a paragraph and we got a header. And now we're going to do we're going to put an image on the site. So the image, since we're doing a bow tie site, we're going to go ahead and get an image of a bow tie.
Get like a heated bow tie. Search heated bow tie.
I
Get
don't
the one with the
know.
wings on it. Get the one with the wings and the chain.
Okay,
Oh,
this
yes.
is Mikey's bow tie.
Oh, look, it's like track and bow tie together, Mikey, there.
And we're gonna, instead of having to download it and do all that stuff, we're just gonna copy the image address. And we're gonna come here and we're gonna do image SRC, which stands for source. And now it's telling it to display an image element, and then the source of that image element is the URL that I just put there. So now if we go ahead and file and save as, and then right here do, instead of text document, do all files and rename it to .html. It's an HTML file. And by the way, the home page of every single website is always index.html. If you, that will be like just the URL of your website will end up being the index.html page. And then, so we go ahead and we're gonna save that, and it should say to replace it because I already have one in there, so that it means it's working correctly. And then we go here and we go ahead and open that, and it should load the website.
Very cool.
Now this is just raw HTML, so there's no CSS to format it and like move it over or anything or design it correctly. But yeah, that's making a simple website just to show you like how easy it is. Like really, HTML is the easiest thing ever. If you want to make real websites, CSS and JavaScript, that's a little bit harder, but HTML really, it's so much easier than it seems. All right, Kane. All right. How to make a website? So, understanding HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is the bones of a website, and like I already said, any website you can think of is started with HTML, like the elements of it. It has all the tools you need to structure and build your site. JavaScript is like the muscles of the site. Pretty much anything you could think of is possible with JavaScript if you really try hard enough. Like, it's very massive. The way it works, you can do all kinds of algorithms and stuff. You can make calculators with JavaScript. You can JavaScript is like real programming. You can make programs with it. Now, it isn't as easy as like C++ or C# or C is for making programs, but you can make programs with JavaScript. Whereas HTML and CSS, that's web design. That's for like making a website. And then JavaScript allows you to give functionality to that website. And like I said, CSS is the skin of a website. It's how you make your site pretty. And then here's a good graphic to explain that HTML is the bones of the site, JavaScript is the muscles, and CSS is the skin. Setting up a website file system is easy. Like I already said earlier, index.html is always the home page of a website. You can also add folders to organize site files. Consider a scripts folder for JavaScript files, a styles folder for CSS files, and an images or audio folder to contain your site's sounds or music and images that it displays. Alright. And here's an example of a website file system. So another thing I should probably explain is when you create this, and once you have like all the content in it that you want on the site and you have all the code done and all that, the file system, you upload it with something called an FTP protocol, which is a file transfer protocol, and that's basically just uploading, but a little different. I don't know exactly what the difference is because it's more complicated than even I would know. but yeah, you use the FTP to transfer it. Code editors. When it comes to actually writing code, you can 100% write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in WordPad or whatever text editor your PC comes with. However, code editors are much more efficient. Pressing the tab key after the first couple of characters of an element will autofill the rest of the code, leaving you to do the rest. Some code editors are Visual Studio Code, Atom, and Notepad++. I used Visual Studio Code. It's made by Microsoft, so of course it's amazing, and that's the one I use. So now we're gonna play a video. And because, well, I'm glad I prepared this video because apparently my code editor isn't gonna work on that computer. So go ahead and play that. And as you can see here, I'm gonna start typing, like, you're not gonna see me type the whole thing that I just typed. I'm literally gonna type one thing and it'll autofill it for me and I won't have to type it. And then I just press enter and then you'll see me type some other stuff. And if you remember before, I had to type the first part of the element and the second part. Here, it just auto puts in the second part of it. I don't have to type in that second part of the element. So code editors really improve your efficiency, and also you can add themes, so you can customize the color of certain parts of your code to fit your needs. Okay. Hosting your site. Hosting a site can be expensive, but I used 000webhost.com, which allowed me to put all the files of my site on the web for free, which was really nice. And it gave me another site to host for free too, but I don't have anything else to host right now. Now that it's on the web, you need to set up a domain, so you can have a custom URL. My URL, totallytubulargame.fun, I got from GoDaddy.com for only $1. After you get a domain, you have to park it to the web host, and you'll be able to type in that URL that you purchased, and it will redirect you to your website. Monetizing your site. To make money from your site, you can use Google Adsense. It will give you a small code snippet to put in your site, and after a Google representative reviews your site, you can, after they review it and they say that it's good and advertiser friendly, then they'll allow you to put ads on the site. And then you can use Google Analytics to view how your site's doing and how many viewers it gets monthly and daily and all that. No, right there. So this is going to be how I made my game. What I was just doing is explaining code in general and what goes into making a website. This is my SIRS project now. This is what I did to make my game.
And to clarify, this entire presentation is from a website you built, correct?
Yes. Then I didn't make the PowerPoint though. I just embedded it into my site. Yes. Oh, and actually, I use Wix.com, which for this part of it, which isn't, I didn't have to write insane code or anything. It's drag and drop code, and also it constantly has that up there, so it's not as impressive as my website, but yeah, that's what I elected to do. So my topic, I chose to make a game in HTML because I have a minor background in HTML, and I like video games. So my mentor, Mr. Gleichman, I got him to help me plan how to plan ahead at being a web developer. So web developers, obviously almost in anything you have to plan ahead, but being a web developer, there are a lot of hard deadlines you have to set, or else you probably won't make it on time, which I learned the hard way, because there are a lot of stuff that I didn't get done on time and I had to just cut it from the project completely. Scroll Building the engine. Oh, okay. All right, well, okay. Just go. Well, that one wasn't that important. Okay. What I did, I opted to use HTML element called iframe. This element can be used to embed other sites or pages within your site. This way I could have the player move through the story without refreshing the page every single every single time. So basically, if I actually opened up the pages that I had like the questions on for the game, then whenever you pressed next, it would refresh the browser and you would lose all the JavaScript elements, so you couldn't save anything, and it wouldn't actually be a game, it would just be a website that you're clicking left and right on. So because I had an iframe element, it instead changes the page within the iframe, and it doesn't refresh the page, and it leaves the page the same. And yeah, this is early on. This is the iframe element right here, and that's the code for it. And that's an early version of the help bar that I did, which I tried many versions of the help bar, almost like a lot. I tried a lot of versions of it. Adding CSS. After I had the iframe working, I decided to start getting an idea of what theme I was going for. So I set to work with some CSS, and I also decided to add a start screen. And there's me adding some CSS to it. So we have a title screen now. Writing the story. Because I was making a game with multiple choice, and it wasn't just a straight in line story like a lot of games are, I needed something different than just like Google Docs or something like that. So I had to use a program called Lucidchart on Google Drive, which allows you to have arrows going to different directions, and it allows you to really shape. It's really good for shaping a multiple choice story, even though it's not even meant for that. I'm pretty sure it's actually meant for networking, but this is what I used it for. It worked pretty good. Character design. Upon figuring out what kind of person my character was, I wanted to make a sprite for my character. A sprite is like a model for a character in a video game. So I could model animations of cutscenes into the game. This idea was eventually scrapped due to time limitations, even though my new friend that I met on Discord, Charlie, had already completed sprites to make a 2D model. She was quick and efficient at designing the character, and I felt bad that I couldn't add him, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the character now. And not to mention, I did completely bone rig the character, which took a long time, but yeah, I guess I didn't end up doing that. Alright, we're going to go ahead and play the game since I'm running out of time.
Did you say you added all the colors to the character? Like you
No,
fleshed it out more? Or
she did all that.
That's pretty
She
cool.
showed me the first one, and then she kept showing me like different changes to it, and I was like, okay, that looks good. And
That's really
she did it real quick. She did it in like 30 minutes, all that.
He did the animations for it.
Wow.
Like,
So this is the game. Totally tubular adventure game. I also had art done for it that I did that was very simple, but I didn't have time for that either. So we're gonna go ahead and start. It's a multiple choice adventure game. So you read the questions that you get in a situation, you get to choose what you want to do. So you wake up outside, the sounds of people shouting. It's usually quiet, and someone rings the nurse.
What are the two choices? It's hard to see.
Eat breakfast or go outside. Go outside.
before you come down,
Before you can do anything, you hear a knock at your door.
answer the door or don't answer.
It's the messenger home skillet from the town of Redwood. That's where your mother and father live in retirement.
Sup, home
Sup,
skillet?
answers with dreaded news. I have come with news from Riftloop. You decided to hear him out. Goblins, thousands of them. You ask him, how is that possible? Goblins only form in groups of 5 to 10 usually. Before you can ask more, he runs off to spread the word. You realize what you must do.
Take off
There you go. Okay, so I didn't program this path. Actually, I never got to that path, but I did program this other path farther in. This one was all gonna be I was gonna do 2 paths. I was gonna do a serious path with a serious story, which would be the path we were just down. And then this one where you just get into a fight with the first character that you meet, which was gonna be the silly path, which wasn't funny. So you could do the crushing fist of death attack or the spinning jump kick attack. He does your attack and then counters by chucking his bag at your head, knocking you out cold, and then you lose. And that's one path. And then you do the crushing fist of death attack, and you land the hit, dealing a strong punch to his chest. So I didn't finish this path either, but what this was gonna be was summoning a fireball would be, you can't obviously do that because magic isn't real, and then you would just get attacked back. And then this was gonna be the successful one. But yeah, I didn't end up finishing that. Oh yeah, and also I forgot, hold up. Because I think I'm already over the time anyways, so I'll go ahead and do this real quick. Go ahead and look at the credits. So, freecodecamp.org helped me learn basic code. W3schools.com helped me with more specific advanced code. I'm really thankful for that. VisualStudioCode.com is the text editor I use. Thanks to the Discord coding community. Someone was always on there to answer questions, and that was very helpful. And I really was happy for that. My friend Patty for inspiring Home Skillet and making sure I did my work. Miss Lanier for being a chill teacher and supporting my Wild SIRS project. And Mr. Gleichman, my mentor, for fixing the health bar and supporting my ideas and adding to them. And that's it.
Any questions for Noah?
Like you have to one up all of us like that.
Did I? I don't know if I did.
Well, you created a website of video game animations, music. Like
I barely even know how to use
I think there was a question. Noah, did you?
Okay, so
Okay.
you said I could turn anything I wanted into a website. Could I make Sims into a website?
yeah.
I mean, if you use JavaScript, you really could. It just would be, that would be really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make a simple 2D version probably. That probably wouldn't be that hard. But porting Sims directly to Java, that would be hard. That would be unbelievably hard.
All right, thank you,
I
Noah.
don't even know how to